Now, the next stone that we're at here, it shows, it's obviously showing its age as many things in the cemetery. Can we make out where this is from?
This stone, of course, locally produced, nevertheless marks the grave of a soldier who was from Virginia and fought in the War of 1812. He's one of several War of 1812 veterans who are buried in this cemetery. We have also several who are buried in Oakwood. And the reason for that is that most of Western Illinois was what they call the military tract, the Illinois military tract, set aside by Congress shortly after the War of 1812 to provide military bounties of 160 acres, that is, gifts of land. It's a way of paying the soldiers who served in the War of 1812. In other words, you get 160 acres free. Now, it's out in the middle of the boondocks, but you get it free. And so, as Illinois opened up, even though they received those grants again in the teens or in the 20s, as Illinois opened up, then some of those soldiers did drift west, and in the 1830s came to a county like McDonough and claimed their 160 acres. Some of them sold it, of course, but others kept it, farmed it, and passed away out here and are buried out here. And that's why throughout Western Illinois you've got an uncommon number of War of 1812 soldiers' graves, whereas the rest of the state, for example, has very few of them by comparison. So the grave of Thomas Smithers here, which says Virginia Militia, War of 1812, is just an example of that kind of soldier grave.
Now, that's very fascinating that folks from the West Coast would come all the way out here, but I guess if I were given 160 acres of land, I probably would too. But with that said, now we know 1812 Illinois hadn't been declared a state yet. What about the local municipalities, the townships, the counties? Were those plots laid yet?
Actually, Illinois became a territory in 1809, and so they started parceling up the state, you might say, which did become an official state in 1818. And then you have county by county development after 1818. Some counties stretched for hundreds of miles and were later subdivided and subdivided, for example. And of course, McDonough County was developed or declared as a separate county in 1826, so exactly 50 years after the Revolutionary War. And then Macomb came along and was laid out 5 years later in 1831. So that sort of gives you the perspective. But let me say that you will find older graves in Illinois further south in the state simply because during the territorial period after 1809 and then the early statehood period after 1818, Illinois was developing from the bottom up, you might say, with Kentucky, Tennessee, or like Smithers here, Virginia people coming in from the southern part of the state, often staying in the southern part of the state and passing away later there. So Illinois sort of grew from the bottom up for a period of time.
Well, that concludes the first installment of our series Stones and Stories, a web-only documentary for Tri-States Public Radio and TriStatesRadio.com. First, I'd like to thank John Halwis, our local noted author and historian, for taking me on a tour. You know, somebody who covers this region on a daily basis for a living, I learned a lot, and I really wanted to take time to appreciate you coming out here and teaching all of us a little bit about our history and about the various cemeteries in McDonough County. Stay tuned to TriStatesRadio.com for the next installment of this series, and until next time, I'm Alex Degman, Tri-States Public Radio.